50 years later, we see new Gotham, and then we wake up with Terry Crews.
Terry McGinnis.
Oh my God!
Boom, 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 boom!
Nerd On.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need but deserve, where all levels of nerd are welcome, even if your shirt or your double-breasted jacket doesn't have lapels anymore.
Oh, wow.
Oh. Wow.
That is the look of the future.
Wow.
That was deep cut.
We went way Amish.
We did.
Yeah.
Before we introduce the topic, my name is Tom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Corey.
Ali.
Caitlin.
And I am Josh. And this episode is brought to you in part by our patrons over at Patreon. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining our journey, the Nerd On tribe.
Thank you.
If you are new to Nerd On and if you don't know anything about it, Patreon is kind of a way that you can continue to support your favorite creators and doing things. There was a post that I saw recently from the person to my left,
Hi,
Caitlin.
it's me.
I really love what she said. The Medici family doesn't exist nowadays, so we can't just get these like patrons. So we get to call on the people that are listening. They're our patrons.
You guys can be our patrons so that we don't have to carve out statues of David.
And yeah. Nerd on the statue. We're moving towards that, right?
Sure.
Jesus.
No,
I
so
caught none of those references, but
so
It's okay.
Oh no,
No, none of them.
Mobster family renaissance, no big deal.
nah, nothing.
Anyway, for as little as a cup of coffee, $3. What is a cup of coffee now?
$5. $5 if you get
Fine,
some
$1.
a half a cup of coffee.
Have a cup of coffee. You can support us. And you get bonus content. You get Discord server where you can talk to us directly and other fans. Sometimes
Other nerds.
Other nerds.
Be
You
part of
get-
the community.
All of us.
Yes. All levels of nerd are welcome. And that server really is a great place to just go and talk about things.
Whip
Guys,
your
did
nerd
you
out.
see this? Blah, blah, wow.
I know what I said.
Wow.
You said
So,
it.
yeah. Patreon.com/NerdOnTV.
Check it out.
Check it out.
But
Moving along.
Without a further ado, today is a special.
Without a further ado.
Without a further ado and more ado about nothing.
Yes.
Thank you, Joss Whedon. For
Shakespeare.
for not destroying this. But anyways, today is a special day. Today is January 10th, 2019, which is 20 years from the beginning of Batman Beyond, the animated series. And that's what we're
AKA
talking about today.
Tom's
Wow.
favorite Batman.
That hashtag. I mean, no, Bruce Wayne's still my Batman, but I mean, like, this is my favorite story.
This is when
of
you
it.
reference.
I'm
lot.
wearing the shirt right now.
Yeah.
It's the first Funko I ever got.
Uh-huh.
Terry McGinnis is a very special place in my heart, my
Yeah.
body, my private places.
It's cool. You feel him
He
in
had
your
a
cockle.
Terry-
Terry
very-
Jorgenus?
Yes.
Very dramatic reveal of the shirt when he came in.
He did.
yeah.
It's like unzipping the hoodie and bam!
To just paint a real quick picture, Tom and I carpool here, and probably about 40 minutes we spent together. And the first minute I saw him, he's wearing a Nightwing shirt. And I said, "Oh, I'm surprised you don't have a Batman Beyond hoodie." 40 minutes go by. He finally sits down. He goes, "Oh, and by the way, Corey, you're wrong!" And takes his hoodie off and has a shirt on. He held that in for so long.
Proud of you.
He waited till he got here to do it.
Yeah.
It almost got to the point where it made it less exciting that the reveal, because I was like, we were in the car together. We literally waited outside of Caitlin's house for
Talked
like
about
10
Batman.
minutes,
We talked
like,
about
small
Pokemon.
talk.
Anyway,
But as sad as it is, this does have an end.
Yes.
So what that means is
that
we can
get to
guess.
Get
That
Grump.
all over Isma.
Nope.
Oh my God.
I almost died.
Everyone that is listening for the first time in 2019 or just first time in your life ever, and it's 2040 by the time you're listening to this, if you're new to Nerd On, and Guess That Grump is a segment of our show, like Josh mentioned earlier. It's something that if it ended, it has a beginning, middle, and end, or something that's done, completed work, we can rate it, whether it's a book, TV show, or movie. And where we rate out of 1 out of 5, and someone like Ollie actually likes Batman. So he might rate it higher than he normally rates any other DC property, which could be a 4.8. But if the animation style isn't on fleek, then Caitlin, who usually likes the thing, might put it at a 4.7, putting her 0.1 away from, the normal of 4.8 or higher. So it makes Caitlin the grump of the week.
So grumpy.
Anyways, the
doesn't
lowest
really happen all that often.
Not
so.
really. No.
we may rate it high, you may rate it low. The lowest rate will be the grump of the week. Since I explain it, I will guess that I'm undulating my head.
He
trying
is.
to figure it
It's
out.
a lot of undulating.
Just for the people who can't see us, they know.
Someday.
I'm going to say Caitlin.
Wow.
I'm going to say Caitlin.
Ali?
I'm hoping I'm wrong. No, I'm hoping I'm right because I swear to God, Ali.
I swear to God, Ali.
Okay, I rate things higher for DC and comic book shit, and then DC should have.
I will turn this car around.
I'll say this though.
I will disrespect. Go.
Okay. Nostalgia can only buy so many decimal points.
I'm going to body slam you.
to increase. I would like to argue that I feel like I am still a fairly objective
I'm going to
reviewer.
I'm going to body slam
to
you.
put that out there.
No, you're not. I'm going to body slam you.
Anyways, I'm gonna pick Sweet Baby Josh because it's been a minute since I've guessed
and you you really just have a system in your head where you're like, okay,
just enough for him to
Just-
not
you
pick up
switch
on
back and
what
forth.
I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then bam.
yeah. No, I get it.
Caitlin, who do you
Caitlin, who's your guess?
I pick Ali.
Ooh,
Ali.
Wow.
Yeah.
dangerous choice. I'm just kidding.
Joshua?
I am going to pick. I should think about this more.
You should.
Yep.
I'm gonna say Caitlin.
Wow. All right.
Actually, I was thinking about it. I thought you.
Why
Anyway.
am I the bad guy this time?
So I've been thinking about this all week, actually. And I know it's not Tom. And I know Josh is mentioning he likes it. So it's got to be one of you two
How?
The only other people that
I have
haven't-
no opinion on. Like, I have no input. You know what I mean? So you already have two? I'll say Ali then.
Me.
Even it out. 2 and 2.
Okay.
Right?
pick?
Yes.
No, 2-2-1 on Josh.
Yeah. But I mean, out of them,
Yeah.
they each have.
So Corey and I
two.
will reveal our answers at the end of the show
Mm-hmm.
first. So stay tuned. And then it'll go Josh, and then Caitlin and Ollie will battle to the death, and then we'll get kicked out anyways. So
Yeah.
but I like to call this the spoiler of Guess That Grump, the initial reaction.
Initial
Yay!
reaction.
So initial reactions. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Go first, please.
So I actually watched this when it was on TV because I grew up as a fan of Batman the Animated Series. One of my favorite, probably one of the greatest cartoons of all time. And so, of course, I watched this. And it was, first of all, I remember being hooked from the opening where they use like real like dolls in the opening. Do you know what I'm talking about? And it's kind of that. It still has some of the reminiscent music from the animated series, but then it like will put an electric guitar over the top of it. Yeah. But it's really fun. Like I really like exploring the type of things. Even at the time for me, the first time watching it, it was like, what if Batman got old and couldn't fight crime anymore? And so I fell in love with it. I really liked this show. I'm still a big fan of Batman the Animated Series, and I still rewatch that constantly. But it was cool to see certain things like what happened to Bane, what happened to this and that and that.
Mr. Freeze.
And someone stepping in to the role of Batman who has a lot of similarities, but enough differences to make it a completely different character, right? He's not as big or as intimidating as Bruce Wayne was, but he's kind of a fast talker and he can
Different kit.
Yeah, right. Different toolkit. That's a great way to put it. So yeah,
different belt.
I have a lot of fun watching this show.
Joshy Josh.
I really liked it. I did not watch it when it was on TV. I had not seen anything but like art for the show. And I only really started hearing about it when I started hanging out with these fuckers. No, just kidding.
Wow, delicious Josh.
Wow.
You're welcome.
No,
Wow.
And you're welcome.
Not
Start
Sweet
calling
Baby
you
Josh
devious
today.
Josh.
devious, delicious Josh. No, so I mean, Tom has mentioned it often.
Sorry.
often.
yeah.
I mean, when it first came out, I think I was 14. I was heading into high school. I had
for school?
extracurricular activities. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of time to watch TV shows.
You're too cool.
Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Extracurricular.
Okay.
Too
Wow.
cool because I went to school.
Right.
Mr. Theater over here.
Yeah.
Too cool.
So I
So
never got a
cool.
chance to watch it. And I think that I look back at my younger self and I just go, you son of a bitch. Because I watched this preparing for this episode and I was like, you son of a bitch, past Josh. It was so good.
Better late than never, Josh, is what they
And
say.
I really enjoyed it. There were a lot of aspects of it that I really loved.
But that suit, though,
That suit is pretty baller.
that suit is dope.
Actually, that music.
Yeah.
The music,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, it's cheesy AF sometimes,
Oh, yeah.
but for a purpose. And then just getting the whole story, because I'm a sucker for a alternate story, as I have mentioned on it. So it was cool getting an alternate, like it's in the future. It's like, what would happen if Batman didn't give up? He retired and because he wanted to shoot a mofo.
Yeah. And I believe 2019, I believe I read somewhere
Is the year that he retired.
that he retired.
Yeah.
Like this year
Oh, interesting.
in the TV
so-
show canon.
Those are my Caitlin.
Never
are you dying?
again.
Just can't breathe sometimes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, those are my initial reactions. We'll go deeper. And I'm gonna hand the trust stick to Ali.
Oh, thank you. I will take that trust stick.
Get it away from me.
Can you guys stop touching my dick?
What?
God damn it. Happy New Year.
Powering right through that one. Batman Beyond came to me at I feel like a perfect time in my life. And it's probably the same for like Corey and Tom. I don't know. Maybe not as much Tom, but it was, last week. I was really bored. No.
Okay.
No, because
slam you.
of course, I'm a huge fan. If you've listened to our episode, I'm a huge fan of the B toss.
Did we have ratings
like to
then
call it.
when we did that episode?
I don't think we had ratings back then.
No.
Oh, wow.
No.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the good old B toss.
Wow, it's an easy rating for me. It's a 5, so.
And going into high school, I feel like I wanted to always like get away from cartoons or whatever, or try to feel like I was cooler. I don't know what I was thinking.
Wrong.
I was obviously wrong, but
You are mistaken.
the thing that helped me was Batman Beyond, because it felt like a cooler, more mature show, even though, I mean, it's technically a younger Batman, but I don't know what made me feel that way. But it's probably the music.
It's beyond.
Yeah, the future. It's cool. It's
And
sci-fi.
it's teen drama.
electric guitar.
Right,
There's
exactly.
dating.
Kids don't like electric
think-
guitar. Only teens like electric guitar.
Wow.
I was either in a garage band at that point or like a year away from it, so I was right on the cusp of
Yeah.
like. So it was singing my tune, as it were, and I loved it. It was awesome.
Kaylin? We're going to make Tom go last, clearly.
Yeah, of course. He's just gonna.
Because the whole next hour of the show is going to be his like,
Hands are already wet, so like.
This entire room will be white.
Oh,
Wow.
gross.
God.
So I'm in the same boat as
I like the way
Corey.
you said white.
I'm in the same boat as Corey, where I saw it on TV growing up, and I love this show. I watched it all the time. It was like I still watching it again was like remembering all of the times that I watched it the first time, and it was still just as good as I remember. Although,
I picked right.
are you sure? Although, like now, I follow a lot of like animators and stuff. I'm friends with a lot of animators, and they tell me about the process and how things work. So I honed in a little bit more on the art style and how things worked. And I know that animation has changed a lot over the years. And I was actually trying to do a bunch of research on this, but it was a different
You found
experience.
nothing.
Yeah, it was really difficult to find anything, first of all. But I'll shorten this for now. But my initial reaction now is I still love it, but I notice more
Of the art-wise?
art-wise.
So, I mean, I mentioned this on the original Batman episode that we did, sans Caitlin. So you weren't here for it. But for our audience that might know, just pretend you don't know. The original Batman, the animated series, was first drawn and painted on black paper.
Right.
So they can have true blacks. And then they'd had Superman, which was doing really well. And then Bruce Timm and company, Alan Burnett and Paul Dini did New Adventures of Batman and Robin, which then they work together a lot so that they can do a lot of crossover events and stuff like that and expand their DC universe. And then one of the studio guys was like, hey, I like your show, make Batman Beyond, pretty much. And that's pretty much what started the whole Batman Beyond process. But by that time, they already switched to their like staple DC iconography of like how it looks. And it's very different than the Batman the Animated Series that like we remember, but it's like what led the way to like Justice League and then Young Justice, which is now in DC Universe, which is fucking amazing. So yeah, I mean, there's hard stuff to find because now it's a little bit more rudimentary of like how things are now.
Right.
But I guess my initial reactions. So when I first watched it, I still like Batman the Animated Series more, and I was more like, this is like some kind of knockoff. Wow. And I fucking chopped it at its knees very quickly. And then later on, like as I decided to grow up, I realized it's like he's stronger, he can fly. It's about a world we've never lived in, and as Corey eloquently put it, he combines two of my favorite heroes into one being.
Oh, yeah.
For everyone who doesn't know, Marvel, Spider-Man is my favorite hero. Peter Parker. Miles Morales shares the same mythos legacy, but Peter Parker's story, and then Batman is my favorite DC character. And this is like the beautiful marriage of both.
Yeah. I texted him as I was watching it this time, and I was like, this second one, I understand why this is your favorite. It's literally...
both
Spider-Man and Batman mashed together.
And some people will say like it's Nightwing plus because Nightwing does share a lot of similar traits, and we could talk about that later. But initial reaction, I mean, when I first watched it, I didn't give it a lot of credit, and then later on, it took me a long time. I had to like fucking open my eyes, and then maybe have someone who reminded me of me to body slam me, Ali, to wake me up and be like, you know what, this is fucking real great, and you shouldn't shit on it. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
It's like, what is this vendetta for Ali? Said nothing but nice things about the show.
I don't know.
He missed him.
I'm worried.
He's worried.
But no, that's it for me. But with that, we can go a little bit about the show. Brief history, synopsizes.
Would it break your heart if I gave it like a low score?
If
I was the grump?
If you gave it like a lower than a 3.5, I would fucking like, I would go inside your body.
You would be fine because that's his rating and not yours.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then off air,
all levels of nerd are welcome.
Off air, I would eviscerate your body.
Wow.
So brief synopsis. Everyone who hasn't watched the show, stop now, go watch it. But what
Pause
happened?
it, come back 10 hours later after you watched all 3 seasons.
So like I said earlier, Bruce Timm and company like were pretty much prompted to like, hey, I like your show. What if we did a younger Batman? And they're like, oh God, what do we do? And there's a lot of funny inside documentary commentary that they had where it was like, maybe we should just quit. Maybe we can't make this story. And then it wasn't actually he was the lead for the art style, Caitlin, Glenn Murasaki. And he was like the young producer. So you had like Paul Dini, Alan Burnett and all that stuff. Like they were like, oh, okay, we run DC Animated. And then Glenn was like the new guy. And he was like, I like this idea. Let's run with it. Cause Bruce Timm was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. And then he's like, come in here. He's like, I like it. I can create it. And he did most of the designs. And so that's what made fucking Batman of Tomorrow. And that's what the original name was.
The turning point was them wanting to do like a futuristic thing?
The idea was like, let's make a younger Batman. And then they're like, oh, I don't know. And then they like immediately on the spot were like, oh yeah, maybe it's like in the future. And it's like Batman's old. And then the studio guy, I forget his name, was like Kilman or something like that, literally said, okay, cool. And then it's like, all right, do we bring it back to you and pitch it? He's like, no, you're greenlit.
Wow.
Like that.
Fuck yeah.
Because New Adventures of Batman and Robin was doing so well.
I feel like that could never happen today.
No, never.
Because you're telling them to like put aside Bruce Wayne.
Unless you're Phil Lord and the guys who did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Because they got a lot of cred now. I mean, that's the thing is like you get powerful people who did powerful cred.
But those stories existed.
Well, I mean, saying like these are the same people who did Batman the Animated Series, New Adventures of Batman, and then they did Superman. All of them are hits. Hit. And they're like, whatever show you got. And then Batman Beyond spun off 2 other shows. Spun off Zeta Project and Static Shock.
Yeah.
So it's like they're just making hits left and right.
And do you say Justice League?
And then just after the call, Justice League came out. There's a lot of anyways, so 50 years after
so many feels.
After the events of Batman the Animated Series, Batman, who's in his like late 60s by this point, still on patrol with
2019
with his brand new suit marked with the red emblem, has to save this princess from a ransom.
I mean, he has the Batman Beyond suit on.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has to save this princess and is forced to pick up a gun and try to defend himself, or else he's gonna die.
Due to a heart attack.
Yeah, because he's having heart palpitations problems, and it sucks. And then he realized like he can never be Batman again. And he says the words "never again," shuts off the Batcave, and that's the last we see of like the Burton-esque Batcave. 50 years later, we see new Gotham, and then we wake up with Terry Crews.
Terry McGinnis.
Oh my God.
Boom, 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 boom.
I would watch Terry Crews.
I'm
play
Batman.
Terry McGinnis.
I want to fucking body wash. We see Terry McGinnis, and he's got a tough relation with his parents. They're divorced. He got a little brother named Matt.
He's living with dad.
Goes to high school, has a couple months in juvie. Bad kid, has a girlfriend. So it's a little different than the normal, status quo that we see with Bruce Wayne. He ends up getting a fight with the Jokers, leads up to Wayne Manor. We see a decrepit Bruce Wayne who ends up helping defend Terry against these Jokers.
Shit out of these punks.
Has
a Rafiki moment, as I call it, where he like without looking.
A tired Bruce Wayne needs his help, so they go back to Wayne Manor, gets his medicine. Bruce Wayne passes out, finds the bat suit. It's like, oh my God, it's Batman. And then Bruce kicks him out. Later on, comes home, sees that his father is killed by the plans and plot by Derek Powers, who runs
who runs
the new conglomerate Wayne Powers, which is between Derek Powers' company and
which is like
Wayne
super
Industries.
Depressing because everything that Wayne Tech stood for is now they're just
Like,
selling weapons to
heavy
crime
arms
lords
manufacturer
and dictators.
Yeah, and so they're testing out this new chemical biological weapon. Spoilers, creates a villain named Blight, and that becomes the main arc of season 1. Anyways, Terry's dad is killed by quote unquote the Jokers that we see, but it's actually Mr. Fix, voiced by Josh. I'm pointing at you.
Oh God, yeah, he was in Star Trek.
Oh my,
yeah.
George Takei.
George Takei. I couldn't think of the name.
Which
and I was the one that told him and brought it to his attention. I was like, hey, that's George Takei. Did you know that? And he was like, no, I did not.
And I was like, oh shit, it is.
Amazing.
Wow.
My brain just
party foul, Judge.
Anyways, Mr. Fix kills Warren McGinnis, and then Terry's like, hey, Bruce, you got to do this thing. He's like, bring it to the police. You find out that Barbara Gordon is now the head of the police. And before he can do anything, Derek Powers and Mr. Fix stop him. Terry's like, fuck, what do I do? Steals that bat suit, goes to try to set his own justice. There's a little drama between Bruce Wayne and Terry McGinnis. At the end of the day, they come to terms and they stop the plot between Blight and pretty much kills Mr. Fix. So he's avenged. Now the rest of Batman or Terry McGinnis, the new Batman's journey continues.
It's about Batman,
where he fights history villains of old, but a lot of new villains too, which have some inklings of the old villains, but are dignified in their own right.
Interesting
Yeah.
spin.
Yeah.
Which also leads into the season finale or the series finale, which ends up on a very interesting note. But they had a feature-length movie called Return of the Joker, where we see our two titans, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, reunite to voice these two in one, fight again.
Now, I had forgotten this was a separate movie.
Yeah.
And I even texted Tom and was like, dude, can I still talk about this? Because I was like going through the episodes and I was like, Where's Return of the Joker? Where is this? I thought it was like a 2-parter or whatever. I had totally forgot it was a movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And this movie is
so good.
Phenomenal.
If it were not a movie, this would be my favorite episode of Batman Beyond.
I mean, to me, and we didn't get to talk about it, and we will talk about it at some point. It's the Mask of the Phantasm for this series.
How did you say it in that text that you sent me the other day? It was like a triumph in its own right, but it's completely separate from the series almost.
Yes.
It's not part of the TV show.
And the thing is, it was in production during second season, so it was supposed to release in the middle of the third season. But then where in the timeline it plays out, it's OVA, so it could literally play out at the end of the series, which I like that better in my mind.
Yeah.
Because... So, long story short, Batman Beyond is at the height of his power. Terry McGinnis knows what the fuck he's doing. He's still in high school, still dating Dana, has some problems there.
He's figured her out.
Yeah. Still got a little brother. Max is still there, but Joker's returned. How does Joker return? We go a little bit more about the old Batman the Animated Series lore, about Tim Drake, about Batgirl, everything like that.
And Tim Drake kind of takes Jason Todd's role in this, essentially.
Because I think DC Animated could not do a Jason Todd story.
No,
that's too dark, and they have asked some issues.
Pretty dark for what it was.
They actually had to re-edit this.
Yeah,
there's 3 versions.
There's 2.
Oh, okay.
So they had one, and I own the original version.
The one where he shoots Joker?
Gets shot, and
Yeah.
there's knives instead of like explosions.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was an original cut, and it was PG-13, and then the television was like, you can't post that up, so they re-edited it and made it for television, and they put a non-rated version out there.
Yeah.
And so it was due to a fan petition. DC fans, right? Snyder Cut. Always want that real one instead of the one that
the real ones are way better.
Yeah. And so it ends off with the Bat family kind of coming back together, Terry learning the true value of like the man behind the mask. Does he really earn the mantle to be Batman? And that's kind of his whole entire journey. But later on gets even more like the cherry on top.
Justice League Unlimited.
Epilogue.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where, and this is a show that happens 4 years later after Batman Beyond, and people fucking love Batman Beyond. There's stints where like the Justice League go to the future, meet Terry McGinnis,
and
he's leading the Justice League. And
Terry McGinnis is ripped as fuck now. He's not some skinny kid.
And they do an entire story of like what happens after the fact, and they mentioned the events of the Return of the Joker, because it talks about a company called Cadmus, and the Cadmus technologies are like Star Labs but evil, aka think of it like Shield but like more science and evil. Hydra-ish, I guess. And
That's the way to put it.
Yeah, and pretty much what they did, and they utilized the character in Mask of the Phantasm. So again, this is all a Bruce Timm, Alan Burnett, Paul Dini masterpiece.
All connected, baby.
This is a MCU before the MCU.
Yep.
It's just with DC shows. But they used the Mask of the Phantasm assassin to try to assassinate Terry's parents. And you realize that Amanda Waller was behind the scenes. She took Batman's DNA, and how do you find it? Because Batman's a human, so he bleeds all over the street all the time. So she was able to get his DNA, create a nanotech synthetic where it overwrites a person's reproductive DNA. And so Terry McGinnis's father, Warren McGinnis's DNA, only produces Bruce Wayne's children. And so we find out that
I'd be okay with that.
Terry is not a clone, but actually the biological son of Bruce Wayne.
Yep.
And then he kind of feels like, what's the purpose of my life? Did I ever have a choice? I was always fated to become Batman. And Amanda Waller says what pretty much the show of Batman Beyond pretty much means is Gotham will always need a Batman. But he does the one thing at the end of the episode that no Batman has ever been able to do before.
What's that, Tom?
Propose to Dana and have a happy life. And
and take care of his dad.
Yeah,
Happy
and
ending.
90-year-old Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, there's this huge love for Batman Beyond in the fan community, where they just did like WB, 4Kids, TV, whatever the fuck, just adaptations combos.
It's been added to my top.
Can I talk about how a little bit of the polarizing stuff I learned about just doing research? So this show, either when it first came out, was like people loved it or people hated it. And the main proponent for people hating it was how depressing Bruce's life was. So you're talking about this guy who arguably is one of the most popular DC heroes of all time. He is, right. Well, I mean, Superman's pretty close, but Batman is like, everyone relates to him. He's human, whatever. He spends his entire life fighting for what's right. He has arguably the largest family, the Bat family, right? He's got all these different people who've been in his life, all these people he's cared for, Alfred, all that kind of stuff.
Commissioner Gordon.
And yet here he is alone, grumpy, broken, and people hated that. People hated that he was this beacon of hope that became nothing more than a guy who was alone and a geezer who took on Terry McGinnis kind of unwillingly, just an old man with a dog.
Yeah.
So people, and that all his crime fighting did what? Nothing. There's still crime in Gotham. It's still the Jokers and Scarecrows and whatever. And so people really, really hated that. And people didn't like the fact that Terry wasn't quite the detective, but what people kept forgetting is that he's 17. Mm-hmm. When we saw Bruce Wayne in Batman the Animated Series, he's already an adult, right? Yeah. He's already been doing this for a while. And so it was really polarizing. Either people really related to that and loved the idea that there always needs to be a Batman, like you said, or they hated the fact that it was just this depressing, like Gotham's just a shithole forever kind of thing.
It's that dude who rolls up the boulder up the mountain thing.
Yeah. And the thing I liked about it is that I did like the idea that there always needs to be a Batman, and that Terry McGinnis, I liked that Terry McGinnis wasn't Bruce Wayne, because in the show that didn't work. Right? Like, as we've seen, being Bruce Wayne, as a brilliant detective as he was, his idea of protecting people by pushing them out, or making sure that everything was put before his life, ultimately led to something that was depressing and terrible. And the fact that Terry McGinnis kind of had the opposite of that. He was a little more brash. Sure, he wasn't as like brilliant as Batman, but he had adaptability. He could, like I said, he was a different kit, like you said.
It was, I mean,
you don't know a thing about me.
Yeah.
Oh. It's not just what his utility belt had, but the utility belt of his brain.
Yeah. And his heart
had. And his heart. Well, that's the thing that she says in the epilogue, where she's like, you don't have his brilliant mind, but you do have his. I've never seen someone care for people like Bruce Wayne does, except for maybe you. And so I think
Ace.
Yeah, he takes that to heart. And instead of keeping your family far away to protect them, Terry understands he needs to just keep them closer.
Yeah.
So I liked that.
I mean, I'm on the camp, obviously, that I enjoyed that. And I didn't think that was a bad thing. Because I think that was just illustrating kind of what we were talking about, where it's just showing that it's like that's what Bruce Wayne became because of his methods, because of what he did. And then Terry McGinnis is like the polar opposite of that. And
well, he also has the benefit of learning from it, right? Bruce trailblazed.
Right. Yeah. Terry has hindsight in a sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's what I loved too in the pilot. Terry, like before he goes to Batman or Bruce Wayne, he's like, hey, I need you to do Batman shit again. He's like, no. He's like, I know about you. I looked you up. And I was like, oh, there's some fucking detective work right there. Yeah. The fucking internet. Right? Yeah. Like, and I mean, that's like literally the extent of it, right? And you later on see in the show that he grows into his own detective of his own right. Like, he can do the research. Yeah. But that's not his character type.
When he's trying to synthesize something, he's like, check the materials of this. And the computer's like, does not compute. He's like, tell me what it is.
Which I was like, that's good. Works. Because the thing is, like, his brain is working the right way. He just doesn't have the bandwidth to do it.
Yeah.
So in the comic books right now, we're in Rebirth, right? And so this is the current at 2019, the Jeff Johns, like, hey, check out Rebirth. It's going to be fucking dope thing.
You're talking about paper comics now?
Paper comics, yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, I mean, before
we won't go too far into it because we want to focus on the TV show.
Yeah. I'll just let you know, like, it goes pretty crazy. Because before Rebirth, like with New 52 and everything like that, I had stories with Terry McGinnis, and then there's an event called Future's End, and Tim Drake actually has to travel to the future. Because Terry McGinnis has to protect the past, Back to the Future-ish, and then Terry McGinnis dies, and Tim Drake becomes the new Batman Beyond. And then they rebirthed it, and they're like, nope. And one of the major arcs they just did right now was that Joker's not dead, and that Damian Wayne, who's the son of Batman, became the new Ra's al Ghul. And so it's those kind of things. Raish. So the Ra's and Raish.
I mean, according to this.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah. That's why I said it.
Yeah. And so that's the cool thing I love about the comic books, is that they're kind of taking a little bit of a note from the show still going into their own deeper stories. But yeah, it's in terms of where it's at now, the show's over, but the comic books are still running strong. And I met one of the comic writers a while ago. So
I would not mind if the show came back.
No, I mean, I'll say it out here out loud. It's like I've written a script just like, oh, if I could do a feature-length movie, this is how it would be. You know what I mean? Like, I have like the aesthetic of like Cyberpunk 2079.
Yeah.
It's like
2077.
2077. It's like that's the perfect aesthetic for this.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, I mean, we want to talk a little bit more about like the merits of the show.
Sorry, my brain just went into like a black hole of your idea and what you were just saying, and I was like imagining it. I was like, oh fuck,
what that would be like.
Okay, you want to hear the pitch?
Sure.
I told this to Corey, but then I was like, imagine like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 with Cyberpunk 2077, and Batman just happens to be there.
Fuck yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you have the tall skyscrapers, you have the new modes of transportation, you have the high collar stuff, you have the cool cars that still have wheels, but some still fly. Yeah. You got like cybernetic tech here and there, but it's got the heart of like a boy trying to figure out his life with newfound responsibility. And then
Spider-Man meets Batman.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I also got some Iron Man vibes from it too.
Yeah.
Just watching it again
because of his rocket boots.
Yeah, and I liked tech. Yeah, and I like that it was like being in the future was a cool excuse to give him like borderline superpowers.
No, yeah, like, he can fist fight Superman.
Yeah, like that.
Because of his suit.
Yeah,
that was another complaint people had. They were like, "Well, he's not. It's just because his suit's good. Without the suit, he's nothing." And I was like, "But he defeats the suit."
Well, yeah, but he
defeats the suit.
And that's the whole thing.
They set it up with him like fighting the Jokers and then being a wrestler. Like they showed that he is
capable on his own
of fighting, and
he can handle his own, but he's not. He can engage. He can fight 6 men, but can he engage 600?
Yeah,
That's the that's the Batman Begins line. But it's like when he becomes Batman, like he can. And I mean, when you watch Return of the Joker, it's like, oh, he whoop all the ass.
Yeah.
But
all the ass.
Also with the world that they're living in, like if he didn't have that technology, he wouldn't be able to be on par as the old Batman because the rest of the world is more technologically advanced
yeah,
too.
Right.
So,
I think they were talking more about the strength stuff and like lifting cars and
right,
shit.
but that's what I'm talking about. Like he's up against like spliced people that
he's
are
up against
super
like
strong
a radioactive man.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the
they're-
counter argument to that is that Bruce Wayne had to fight Superman.
Yeah.
So it's the same. It's people.
Well, it
people
was,
have their reasoning. I understand it.
It was a
get
cool
it.
excuse to have that stuff in there.
Yeah,
Was
exactly.
sending it in the future.
And then what does Batman retire with? The Batman Beyond suit.
Yeah.
So obviously he needed to use it too.
Yeah.
And that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like you use what you got, and I use it. You know what I'm saying? So I mean,
Tom is like, I want one, please.
dear.
Are we
Send
on
one
to
to
talking
me.
about favorite parts, episodes?
we can talk about that. We can mish a little bit about like the merits of the show and all that stuff and where it lives in the pantheon of the DC series.
Is that how you? Is that the sound effect that goes beyond?
That's the dust of the tapestry. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I
favorite
don't feel
parts.
so good. Go ahead.
God,
so
over your
around.
soul.
The same person.
well,
Tom's
I-
been talking a lot. Corey.
I mean, I have a favorite episode for multiple reasons. One of my favorite parts, though, was seeing Bane and the build up to that they had, and they were like, be careful around Bane, and Bruce is like, he's a formidable opponent. He broke my fucking back. Like, be careful. And then it's this build up of him breaking in and like finally finding the door and being like, all right, here we go. And he opens the door and Bane is just this shell of a person in this wheelchair on life support. And he's like, what happened? And they're like, Venom, man, don't do it. It's bad.
Don't do drugs.
But it was
Bad.
weird to see Bane like that. And they
Yeah.
show the picture of him before too from the animated series and everything, and you're like, oh fuck, he's gonna see Bane. What's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And I just remember being so scared and then being like, damn, that was like a real moment for a sec. Where he's like, what happened? Where was Bane? He's like, it's a dead end, Bruce. Sorry. Don't want to tell you about it too much. But my favorite episode is, I want to get the name right. Is it Out of the Past?
Yes.
Is that your favorite episode?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
no.
Out of the Past
happens?
is a phenomenal episode. So basically, this is the
In
episode
a sentence, yeah.
where you see Bruce coming to terms with being old. Like he even has a line in it where he's like a couple of years ago, I could have got us both to safety after Terry saves him and this girl from the middle of the street. And essentially he gives in to he's visited on his birthday by Talia al Ghul. And she offers him
Old flame, baby.
yeah, basically offers, and he's looking at pictures of like him and Barbara and stuff like that. And she offers him the gift of basically immortality or reversing time, as Raish used to use the
Lazarus Pits.
And one thing leads to another, and you find out it's been a trick, and that Raish has actually taken over the body of Talia, which is why it now makes
Which is
sense
fucked.
that he keeps correcting people. He's like, actually, it's Raish. Talia keeps correcting people, but now you're like, oh, it's just him and his ego getting in the way.
Yeah.
Detective.
And eventually you find out it was all a trick to kind of get him, and then it's all going to wear
Get
off
his
eventually.
body.
But it was like, such a,
But not in a sexual way.
it was such an interesting, it's very human side of Bruce Wayne that you don't get to see very often. And I really liked that. And the struggle, kind of the power struggle between him and Terry, where Terry's like, if he becomes Batman again, what does that mean for me? I've been doing all this work. I've been, doing everything he says and training and working on this to become Batman. I want to be that. And
He just got the reins together. He's
Yeah.
like, cool. I can do this.
I know how to be Batman.
So for me, that episode was, and especially being a fan of the animated series and seeing Terry and young Bruce fight side by side was kind of cool. But it was also heartbreaking because you're seeing this guy you looked up to your whole childhood, Bruce Wayne, Batman, like struggle with being old.
Yeah.
And that's that whole downfall of Batman, right? Clark Kent ages at a much slower
It's
rate.
bullshit.
And so you never really see old decrepit Superman. But Bruce having to just be immortal is like strange.
Yeah.
Why was it your favorite episode?
Which is funny because actually when you said that in Justice League, Superman said, "Oh, Batman will outlive us all."
Yeah.
Well, Well,
You could say it's the same thing.
You can say
I mean, it really is the same thing, but really, if I were to say my favorite part of the show is actually kind of the back and forth with Bruce and Terry. And
Such a good
one of my
dynamic.
favorite moments is in the episode, and it's at the Batman the Musical. And like
I
it
was going
ends,
to talk about that.
and he goes,
my
Getting to
God.
hear Kevin Conroy sing again
yeah.
is phenomenal.
But Bruce's first line is, "You hate me, don't you?"
yeah.
and he goes like,
like,
Terry
"I
goes
waited
on to say,
months for tickets."
it took me so long to get the tickets, and he's like, "It's Schway," and Bruce goes, "It's Schwarbage."
Yep.
And like, I just really love the back and forth between them. But that moment for me, just like, I was actually on the elliptical and I laughed. I had to stop because I was laughing out loud because it was just so silly, and it was silly, but it was awesome. And then I did some more research, and it's like that musical was based on a real musical that was in development that was going to
100%.
be directed by Tim Burton.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And
100%.
then that got scrapped. But still, it's like, fuck yeah.
Kevin Conroy singing.
Yeah.
I do want to say something. You mentioned Shui.
Yeah.
I love all of the fucking weird
All the
future terms that he, like
Yeah.
drag, slag it, twip. I'm like, this
Love
is
slag.
oh, it's so good. Or like creds. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
fuck are you talking about? But it's like,
It's like Simlish.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It is very simish. Reticulating splines.
Exactly.
I mean, of course, it's an honorable mention, but it is, and it's not really technically an episode, but I think it is.
Return of the Joker.
Return of the Joker.
That's a movie.
I watched it, and
It's amazing.
it had show elements, but it's almost like they had a little bit more give to go a little bit darker, a little bit grittier, and
Yep.
and Mark Hamill.
and of course,
Mark-
and Mark
That's
Hamill.
when they decided to go with that look for Joker.
Oh,
Because that look for Joker is like a little bit more demonic looking
Mhm.
than the old one. And then
Yeah.
when they started using that look, that's when they started doing that for Justice League.
Mm.
Because I don't know if a lot of you know, but like when the Batman movies are coming out, Batman Begins, Dark Knight, they had a thing called the Batman embargo.
hmm
So they couldn't make animated series episode stuff with characters that they potentially could use in the Batman movies.
wow.
And so
Wow.
like the Batman show came out and they were like, let's just make them 100% different. So people wouldn't get confused. And that's the funny thing. It's like, oh, modern audiences are smart. It's like, maybe they're not. But also maybe studios aren't that smart. But also maybe they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's silly.
There's also a moment that you brought up that I love, and maybe that's your favorite moment. I don't want to steal it from you.
Just say it.
But the part where he figures out, he's like, "How'd you know
Oh,
it
no.
wasn't your voices in your head?" And he's like, "Because they kept calling me Bruce. In my mind, I don't call myself Bruce." He's like, "What do you call yourself?"
And then
He
he
just
just
looks
looks.
at
And then
him.
the guitar. Vroom.
Yeah, and he's like, "All right, well, I'm Batman now."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Give it a rest, kid."
I talked about that moment with Kevin Conroy. He's like, yeah. I was like, he knows. He gets
speaking of which, we did have Kevin Conroy on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
show.
We did.
I believe it's episode 27, and then Reno Romano, who
Sounds
was in
like it
the
was
Batman.
a super cool time.
the Batman.
It was.
It was like a month later. You joined us.
I know.
Literally the next episode.
Don't worry.
I'm just kidding, I'm kidding.
We'll get Will Friedle, and then we'll just talk about Kim Possible or something.
yeah.
No, Boy Meets World.
Boy Meets
right.
World, yes.
Next,
Or that as well.
Caitlin?
The one with Ra's al Ghul was,
Jesus.
was a favorite as well. I know,
It's a
I
great
know, but it was a
episode.
great episode. It deals with like
I actually watched
worrying
it a
about
couple
your
of times.
mortality and your, when you get older, you can't function the same way. So I thought that was a really good look at what that is and how his character dealt with it. Also the like love story of that, and then him being like, "Oh, you're creeped out. I kissed her."
Yeah.
And then the Terry, the like love trouble between Terry and Melanie.
Oh yeah.
10.
Yeah, 10.
Melanie Walker.
10 Melanie Walker. Yep. It was I really liked their troubled, like ruinous love, star-crossed lovers. Is that what we're gonna call it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Um,
That works.
It's good enough for Shakespeare. It's good enough for us.
The producers wanted to make that because they wanted, I think all at the time, all the other kid shows, because this was directed for ages 6 and 14, they wanted a character that would have multiple love interests. And that's
Okay.
why they introduced that. And there was another thing they wanted to introduce, and they were like, fuck no. But Melanie
Are
Walker.
we gonna get to that when
Group,
you talk? I'm sure.
We'll talk about
Group
it.
orgasms.
Jesus.
But yeah,
where my
I
mind
really like the
Talking about orgies.
Orgies.
Wine was invented for orgies.
Okay, no. Back to
But
Batman.
he didn't have orgies.
Can we talk about that now?
No.
I like that they like that Terry was conflicted about liking Melanie later, but still kisses her. Tom is
he's
just
17.
grunting so much. Yeah, exactly. But it really it portrays like that weird in between. Or like, I like you, but I don't know if I like you. Are we in love? I don't think we're in love. And she's like ready to leave her whole family about it.
About it.
About it. Well, whatever.
She was about it.
She was about it, hardcore. And I question, did Terry read the note?
No, he didn't.
He threw it away.
I feel like he read it. I feel like he read it and threw it away.
I don't know though. Because he looked at
my
it, he
heart
looked at the
would
name.
be so much more broken if he
never read
didn't fucking read that. I'd be like, but Melanie loves you!
I mean, the fact that he moved it from the suit to, wasn't it in his pocket?
His jacket.
Jacket pocket.
Yeah.
So he probably read it and was like,
I feel like he had to
kept
have
it in
read it.
there. Probably, but we don't know that because they were really good about being vague in the show and letting your mind kind of play out the possible scenarios for situations.
He's Batman.
Right.
So, ish.
Was it open or sealed?
I mean, it was folded over,
Yeah.
so he only saw his name on the top, so that you knew it was from her,
It's a
since they
folded
showed
note.
it multiple times.
And he was with Dana. And she
he
said,
was
"What's
with
that?"
Dana, and
he said,
he's
"It's
like nothing, and like crumples it and throws it away. So like you can't possibly know if he read it or not. You would assume that he read it
Made
since
his
it went
choice,
from the
though.
suit to.
But it's up to you. And I think that's the power of the audience and the writer.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is the beautiful.
Right.
So good.
I really
My
liked
God.
it. It was super bittersweet, but I really liked it. I also really like all of the interactions with Terry and his little brother.
Oh, yeah.
Because his little brother was just like
Boring.
playing in his room all the time, but he just wants to be a little shithead to his brother. And then when it hits maximum shithead, he gets kicked out. And that's what they're like almost all of their relationship is. And I thought that was cute because it's accurate.
He goes like, Mother, did you hear something? I swear I heard Terry's voice. Something like that.
I got a few
paraphrasing.
more, but I want to hear from you two.
Yeah.
I think my favorite series of episodes is all the ones with ink in it.
Oh, I knew it. I love ink.
Yeah.
I
Ink
love
is
ink.
great.
I like the ending tank.
Yeah,
With the
well,
with the s-
Freeze
daughter?
gun.
Oh, with the first season.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
first season. Then I think the only answer I could give for absolute favorite episode is Inkling when it comes back
To the daughter.
when it comes back to the daughter.
So good.
And it
it's-
like opens up that whole like, okay, you were exploring some like
it's a
backstory.
developed character.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, like I'm down for this. And it actually ends up being like an interesting story. And
And that's the cool thing. It's like they took the same kind of love that they took with, because apparently, again, through watching the documentary of them talking about Batman Beyond, they're like, we had to include Mr. Freeze and they all said together, we love Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
you could tell
She's
they were
the
doing the same
best.
thing with these characters too, that they're trying to flesh out heartfelt stories with them, which fucking,
she's very like
that's your style.
Catwoman-esque.
Yeah.
Oh, that is kind of poetic
I-
then that they used in season 1, Mr. Freeze's gun.
Gun.
Well, it's like she isn't like a heart. I feel like she doesn't do anything like nefarious ever.
She's
Which
she's a
not.
survivalist.
I guess. Well,
She did turn a
At the
guy
end.
into a halfling.
Kind of violent.
and yeah, well, she's violent. I'll give you that. But like, she's just
But
doing
not
like
nefarious.
she's helping some guy commit insurance fraud. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Way to just like
I feel like you could run into somebody at the store that's done that.
She focuses on espionage, corporate espionage.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was just I liked it. It was.
But then that moment when she goes into the concrete and starts lifting up all the fucking
Oh,
tiles
yeah.
and he's running, I was like, this is fucking scary
Yeah.
as shit too.
well, it was like fully embracing the fact that it's set in the future.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and not relying on like callbacks or whatever.
To me, she was like a femme fatale version of Clayface in terms of
Yeah.
power set, but
With,
then
like,
much more like assassin.
Catwoman's
Yeah.
persona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fucking amazing.
Which I loved. So yeah, I would say it's probably one of my favorite villains for
Ooh, we
Batman
should do
Beyond
that.
as well.
At the end, we should do that.
That's my answer.
Pour moi, my favorite episode is the introduction of 10. Is
of
Melanie
course.
Walker. You know why?
Why?
It's the romance thing. It's the fact that things aren't going well in paradise with him and Dana and shit. And I love the fact that him and Dana always have this like tough thing going on. And what I was going to mention was like the producers felt bad. They're like, fuck, we really like shit on Dana a lot. And we leave her in this place. And they're like, and Glenn, the guy who did all the art style, was thinking of making it where they broke up. And then him and Max started dating. And then all the producers were like, fuck no. And Brewston was in Japan or something like that. And he calls like, no, this is not happening. Wow. This is not happening. Because they were like, she's like his bro. She's like his bro. That can't be. Like, you can't do that. And then the thing about Glenn is that he was just like, let's just do as much as we can. Let's just and I think it's a radical idea, but I don't think it would have played. But I don't hate the bravado to try it.
Right.
Yeah, but like I do like the fact that Melanie Walker's in there, and I love
you like where their head's at.
Yeah.
As far as like
I love that she's part of the Royal Flush Gang, which later on gets brought up in the epilogue with Ace. And so like Batman has a history with them. But then my favorite line in that episode is like, you were right. Let me tell you about a girl named Selena Kyle. And I was like,
I should have known.
Like,
and they're like walking off. Like he's like, let me tell you a story.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god. And it's like that's the thing I love, and I think what some people might see as a weakness of the show is that a lot of the first season plays upon the strengths of Batman the Animated Series. That a lot of the villains or some of the lessons that Bruce Wayne learns comes into play for Terry McGinnis. And, Terry has to learn, like, you can't be so gullible. You can't get people involved, X, Y, and Z. And Bruce Wayne's already known all this stuff, but it's up to Terry to learn it for himself. And, first season, he fights, he sees the Bane stuff. He sees Mr. Freeze. He learns about the Catwoman dilemma. He learns about these kind of things that, like, Bruce had to have learned already. And Bruce could only be there to kind of watch and guide, and he can't really just protect him from those kind of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, Melanie Walker, that's like my favorite episode. But I mean, if we're talking, like you brought in Batman, Return of the Joker, I'm talking about all the Batman shit. So I mean, like, fucking epilogue.
Yeah.
Like just the explanation of how Batman like is sent to go kill Ace, who's like going to destroy all reality. And she's just this little girl who's scared, doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And he just holds her hand and waits for her to like die. And then like just walks out. And I was like, and that's to me, like, that's something no comic book adaptation has gotten to, like live action movie, TV show, like to me, that level of like, and that's a really cool thing I loved about Batman Beyond is that in season 2, they really wanted to focus more about Terry's story in school. And they have like Earth Mover, and they have like a lot of stories with teens, and they have, Spellbinder, who's like doing like pretty much just drugs, and kids are getting addicted to these virtual realities. And it's like the effects that's happening is destroying families, and kids are becoming comatose and stuff. It's like, oh, I know what you're doing, but as a kid, I never knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh fuck, they're talking about these actual real issues. But yeah, with Justice League Epilogue, that episode tears me fucking apart. But no, Melanie Walker, that
all day.
That, I mean, and the pilot, and then the end.
The pilot, him saying never again and turning the lights off was such an emotion. Even the second or third time was still like a damn, how much he was shaken by having to pick up that gun and just being like, the one thing he was always against is killing. And he was like, I just almost shot someone.
But I mean, also,
100%.
Mr. Fix, not bad for someone pretending to be Batman. It's like, I am. I was like, ooh, like my pants exploded off me. I was like, I can't find the leg. It's I don't know where it went. But then also in fucking Batman Return of the Joker, when he says like, he's vain, he likes to talk, just power through. He's like, I like to talk.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck yeah. And then he's just like, you never made Batman laugh. And it's like, I thought this is all you wanted. And I was like,
when Joker starts losing his shit.
He's like,
shut up.
And that's, to me, I was like, he intellectually defeated Joker. And I was like, holy shit. Like Batman could beat him up all day. And in the Dark Knight, what can you do with all that strength? Nothing. But then Terry fucking mind fucks him. And I was like, this is what's up. This is why it's beyond, and this is, I mean, those are the kind of things like,
it's like Batman, but
beyond.
More beyond. Wow. It's like it's the whole premise.
Did you know that first it was going to be called,
Batman Future?
No.
Oh, please no.
Tomorrow Night.
What?
And then they were like thinking,
sounds like a new park
Mr. Josh,
section of
Mr.
Disney.
Mr. Promo.
Tonight, tomorrow night.
Can you imagine? Tonight, tomorrow. Today on Tonight, Tomorrow.
Tonight on Tomorrow Night.
Today on Night of Tomorrow.
Tomorrow Night.
And then it later on became B2. And then later on, for like the longest time, it was actually called Batman Tomorrow. and then they're like Batman Beyond. And then
Tomorrow on Batman Tomorrow.
Tonight at 8 p.m. on Tomorrow.
seriously.
When do I watch this?
Also, just a little bit of like
at 8.
a reveal of the show. I mean, we are talking about 3 seasons of television, so 52 episodes. They were apparently just given 52 episodes to make, and then they just ended it. They weren't canceled, but then they were given the green light to do 52 episodes, and they just decided not to do any more episodes. And it ended off for me.
Bastards!
Oh.
It ended off on a very interesting note where everyone's like, the last episode didn't even air on the original network of WB Kids. It ended on like Cartoon Network, and then it was just like a really interesting moment. But for all those at home who care, it does have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So.
I have 2 other moments I really like I want to talk about before we get into.
I feel like that was Tom made a little visual scan around the room to be like, so think about your fucking ratings.
Well, no, I don't give a shit about Rotten Tomatoes.
I first of all love the Superman Beyond suit.
The black and white.
Yeah, I love it.
The episode, The Call, 2-part.
I know it went on to paper comics and stuff like that. I'm a fan of that suit.
That's like super deco.
I'm super a fan of that suit.
That's pretty much how like the Incredibles suits became.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love how Batman and Ace came together. I love that
a good dog story.
Yeah,
A good dog story for Corey.
Them both saving each other in Crime
Ace.
Alley.
Yeah.
The name of the dog.
Yeah,
Maybe also the name of the girl.
but them both saving each other in Crime Alley during his visiting his parents, on their anniversary of their death. I love that. I love, and I also love that Ace, the crime fighting dog, is an old character from like the 60s.
Yeah.
From all the 60s comics that they brought into the So it was looked like Scooby. It was like when Scooby-Doo was the shit. And they were like, oh, we have to bring in dogs. Let's get what's the super dog? What's his name?
Dynamite or Crypto.
Yeah, Crypto. And they have
my
Ace the
God.
Like it was during that.
Yeah.
But they brought him back for this.
There's a cartoon show for that, right?
Yeah.
Recently in those years.
And it's pretty good actually, from what I heard.
I didn't hate it.
But I love that they brought him in. And when you first see him, Terry's super scared of him. And he was like, oh geez. And the next time he comes to Bruce's house, he's like, it's me. Like, chill the fuck out. It's me.
I feel like he calls him Scooby.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does.
He says, chill out.
Because they have all those Warner Brothers rights, baby.
And I forget the exact phrasing when Terry asks him about the dog in the first place, and Bruce is kind of like, he's whatever. He's kind of weird. I don't know. His response.
He was like, he doesn't seem very nice, and he's like, he's not.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved that. I loved it because I'm like, neither are you son of a bitch.
I think my favorite interaction with Terry and the dog is in the Chimera episode. When
what happens?
The dog, he tells the dog to stay outside, and the dog comes in and ends up saving him from ultimate Chimera. That's not the part. I like the part where he hits the dog and he's like, "Don't touch my dog."
Oh yeah.
And I was like, you love him.
He cares.
There's the arc. There's the arc that he's like, I hate the dog. Now it's my dog.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's it for me. I mean, I can go on and on, but those were the ones that would stand out to me.
I really love Earth Mover. And Earth Mover is the one with the redhead girl who's like, this is Bill. He's not my dad. And then it's like, who's your dad? And then you find out like her dad died in a freak accident that Bill was involved in. And then he became this mutant root monster underground. And then can create these little golems that wanted to kidnap the girl. It's in second season, and at the very end, it's a shit ending. Everyone's sad. Batman saves the day.
Everybody's sad.
Everyone saves the day, but then you find out the biological dad's this horrific skeleton monster who's I want to save my girl, or I want to keep my girl. You killed me. It's I want to kill my friend. And then the friend's out of guilt, I was raising your daughter because I felt guilty. And then Terry's like, well, that sucks. And he just takes him away. But I loved the episode because I was like, oh my God, so fucking dark. And the producers actually argue about that. Apparently that episode and then your favorite, Out of the Past,
are the darkest.
And they were the ones that gave them the most problems. Because they were like, how do we end it? Because they wrote themselves in a way where no matter how we write it, it's going to be sad.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to do that. And then they're like, fuck it. They just made it that way.
Too good of stories to not do it.
Yeah, but then they said that Earth Mover is a sadder one.
This isn't Batman Beyond, but it has to do with Justice League Unlimited, and it does have to do with Batman Beyond. The one where they go into the future. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And Batman meets himself. But there's one moment in that will stick with me forever.
The interrogation?
Yes! Yes! When he meets Ghoul and he beats the shit out of him and holds him over a ledge with one leg. Because I hate Ghoul. I fucking hate Ghoul.
So present day Batman in his fucking glory
Prime
holds Ghoul over a fucking like 80-foot fucking building.
And Ghoul's like, what the fuck are you doing? Jesus!
And then old man Bruce Wayne says, I don't remember being so green. Grabs Ghoul, throws him. He's like, this is how you interrogate. And then it just goes into a black.
Yeah.
And then Ghoul's like, we have 8,700 Jokers all around the city. Yeah. And it's like, I used to wear my pants until I was 8. And I was like, shit.
Yeah. Like old man Bruce fucked some shit up.
And my favorite moment actually from that episode. So they're following Kronos, who's a guy who's traveling through different times.
40s.
Yeah. My favorite thing is that they're fighting all these villains actually from Return of the Joker.
Yeah.
But they all have this new tech. And they're like whooping the shit out of the future Justice League. And Superman's not there. It's weird. And they're losing. They're losing the fight. And then Terry McGinnis, who's leading the team now, he's like, we're not going to win. He's like, and he opens up a boom tube. So he's like, go back to the Watchtower. And then Static Shock and Green Lantern's like, come on, kids, stick the fight. And it's like, yeah, we're Justice League. We never give up. He's like, I didn't put this up for discussion. And then he booms everyone out. And I was like, what a fucking badass. Like, he's like, it's
a great episode.
Is that the show that aired like after Beyond finished?
This is like the latest and the last of like the Bruce Timm tapestry.
I'm so sad that I never watched that.
Oh,
you'd love it actually. Like you would.
I feel like I would.
That interrogation scene though is so good.
It's used as a meme.
I feel like that's my way of getting into Justice League because I feel like I'm still not like into the Justice League.
You would like this a lot.
So I feel like that might help.
We'll hook you up with some episodes.
Yeah,
I got like the first 2 seasons.
So. Oh, there you go.
And the fucking movie. Anyways, Batman Beyond.
I'll borrow this Blu-ray.
Qualms?
Before we go into qualms, can we do quickly favorite bad guy? I've got mine right off the bat.
Oh man,
I went.
Ugh.
Favorite bad. Go ahead.
Mine's Blight.
Blight's dope.
I love Blight.
We know Ollie's.
Why do you love Blight though?
I just thought he was a badass.
Well, also he was tragic too.
He was I'm a sucker for a tragic bad guy. I mean, just everything that happens to him.
I
was
felt
like,
so bad.
Oh man,
his son's a piece of shit.
His son is such a piece of shit.
Mine's
He
gonna
just
be
slowly went insane.
Oh,
anyway.
Oh, sorry. Mine's gonna be 10.
10?
Don't.
Yeah.
She's not a bad guy.
But she is.
So she is.
Also, a little tidbit: the producers wanted to play with her a little bit more, and then by season 3, he was going to like attack, Terry's going to go like infiltrate the Royal Flush Gang and grab 10, and it was a different girl, and 10 had become queen. Wouldn't that have been fucking dope?
Oh my god!
Dope.
I don't know if I could have handled that one, but that just even means more that she is a bad.
Yeah, she's a bad mama.
So sorry,
bad mama.
Bad mama jamma.
For me, I've always liked Shreve.
Okay.
Yeah, Shreve was cool.
Mr. Headphone Jockey. Because his power's super dope, and then his whole thing is like fucking like he loses his hearing, and then that's the way he wants the most, but then he uses that as like his, I don't know. And plus his suit design's super cool. Like I love that. I really like designs of characters who have really big hands that don't look like they match the arms. Like the arms are a little smaller than the hands.
That suit just made me feel like he was a sloth.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like he looked like a big audio system sloth.
There was something weird when he pops out a speaker out of his hand. I'm like, how short are your hands?
Yeah, I was curious about that as well. I was like, are they not in there?
Are you T-Rex in it right now?
Or maybe he has really tiny hands. Like
no,
really long
tiny arms.
Oh.
Not hands. I feel like tiny arms.
Or they just go on the side or something.
He's just wiggling his arms around.
I would say
flailing.
Poor rat boy. Poor rat boy.
So the funny thing about that episode, Glenn, the art director, he really wanted to do that episode. And he knew that episode was going to be weird because like it has a very interesting arc, but they wanted to make that episode about Dana. And you could see that there, but you
could see it because in honesty, it's like Dana's like, just fucking Dana. Again, it's Dana. And after this episode, I was like, oh, okay, Dana, she's kind of cool.
But also, okay. I mean, there was a time I was like, damn girl, that skirt could get a little longer.
Yeah.
Damn girl. But also she was like, I'm gonna wear that dress you like to Chili?
Yeah.
To go to a fast food chili spot?
Hey man, you don't need a reason to dress up, all right?
True.
I mean, you know what? That's the whole like dress for the job you want. Yep. She wants to be wifed the fuck up and she gets it.
Although I do admit that an all-white dress to a chili restaurant is not the best plan.
No.
Anyway.
Corpow?
Does Freeze count?
You can count him. He's a villain in
Because
that.
He
I'm
wasn't
a
bad.
sucker for Freeze. I know, but it's kind of tragic and it's not.
But the thing that I
Right. Same with 10.
Yeah.
the
that's
thing,
true.
okay, so Freeze,
He's
Victor.
not like a main villain in this though.
Well, I mean,
guess.
Victor Fries. I'll call him
Yeah.
Fries. Victor Fries in Batman the Animated Series is Nora. I must save Nora. I'm fucking blah blah. I must steal money so I can make my blah blah. And this is a completely different story.
Yeah.
He's like, I found humanity. I blah blah. And then everyone just fucks him.
Yeah.
And then no one trusts.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne doesn't even
You
trust
trust
him.
him. I know.
Terry does, and that's Terry.
I was
Yeah.
reading that it was just going to
To
be like
be
a
fair,
settlement.
Bruce doesn't trust him because
For good reason.
Yeah, I was gonna say 20 plus years of betraying him.
Betraying him.
You were saying, John?
I was going to say, I was reading that originally Mr. Freeze was just going to be a very subtle nod, like somebody opens up a freezer door.
Oh my god.
And there's his head,
Oh
and there's
my
like a look, and they were like, "It's Mr. Freeze. We can't do
We
that to
can't.
him."
They love Mr.
They
Freeze.
can't sleep on
Just
him.
like me, they love Mr.
We-
Freeze.
we
So I'm gonna say
can't do
Mr.
that.
Freeze.
Okay.
But
fine.
it would
That's
say
fine.
I'd say Ink otherwise.
Yeah, Ink is.
Ink is very cool.
I do like Kurare, who I feel like that's the League of Shadows, but they just called it the Society of Assassins. Because in the Batman the Animated Series, they never called it League of Shadows. They called it League of Assassins. But then hers is called the Society of Assassins, and I love the fact that her katana is cut with nano lasers, so it's like less than an atom. Like that's the edge. It's like smaller than
Wow.
an atom. And then the whole like
Cut through reality.
when they lose.
I was gonna say, was there like nuclear explosions every time you use?
Probably.
and
no worries.
I love the part where they're like, when they don't get their target, they become the target. I was like, oh.
Shout out
fuck.
to Blight though for
Blight.
being a powers.
I mean, he.
Wow.
You can't have a
Shout
Terry
out to
McGinnis
Blight.
without Blight.
Can't have it both ways.
Yeah, no relation.
Um,
It's a good name though.
yeah, it is. But I mean, they have good villains like Spellbind.
No relation.
Spellbinder's good.
Mm-hmm.
I like Spellbinder a lot.
All of the villains are really fleshed out in interesting ways, and it's like subtle nods to previous villains.
I like the nerd that became buffs, like a buff telepath or a telekinesis dude.
Wait,
He
Watts?
He had the Golem. He
Yeah,
had the,
Watts.
Yeah, and he went to juvie.
Wally or something.
Yeah, he went to juvie and then became ripped. And then like all of a sudden it's like, I just control shit now. It's like, oh fuck. Hella powerful now. Which is like cool because like most of Batman's original rogues guy like didn't have these kind of powers. They were just like super strong.
Right.
Right.
So it's like, oh, this guy will just like crumple you into a ball.
Hence the argument about the suit. Anyway,
So going into
Quams.
Qualms.
DJ Qualms.
Quammy quams.
Uh,
Dr. Grapes.
No, fuck that guy.
I will go first. In fact, the only real gripes that I had, I mean, I didn't have any when I was watching it when I was younger at all, because it was like probably my favorite show on television at the time.
But taking off the rose tinted glasses.
Taking out those rose tinted glasses, trying to be as objective as possible. I did not love some of the like the art styles of like the environments all the time. Not the art style, I should say that. Just the quality of animation for like backgrounds and backdrops and environments. Whereas wasn't always, I felt like things were like a lot of weird, big empty spaces, like not super detailed. Just watching through it again recently.
in comparison
that's
to
what
the
I-
animated series,
Right.
where you had this Art Deco, super specific.
So at least you had like the art within the art
Mhm.
of the Art Deco set piece or whatever. And I think that's pretty much it. There was I agree with Caitlin where it's like it was a little cheesy at times.
I do
And,
want to
like-
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like with the first two seasons of Batman the Animated Series, like they doing the original style,
Yeah.
they made it a little bit more pulpy film noir.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And a lot of their frame is, like you said, more filled.
Uh-huh.
Where when they switched to the new Adventures and
yeah.
Superman, they did make everything a little bit bigger.
Blockier.
And then all their characters are a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
And it's like, it makes it feel more empty.
It makes it feel a bit more empty. But I think that was it. A little bit cheesy here and there. That's pretty much it though. I mean, otherwise there's not really
School night, boys and girls. I'm going to have to call your folks.
Next time, try email.
Out of your mind, Gavi. Corey.
Mine is just it's kind of the same thing. It's as far as future settings go, I enjoy future settings, but for me it just made me feel depressed. Like it's really dark.
Yeah. Every single company is like an evil company.
No, not Fox. Not Fox, baby.
Not even the
Fox-Tekka?
not even the setting. I'm just talking about the look. Like the look of it.
Everything's
It
dark.
was dark and
Yeah,
kinda dreary.
whereas like
It's a cross.
I don't know how to articulate this because like there's a type of
How you
like
feel, baby.
80s futuristic stuff I love,
Mhm.
but like 90s idea of the future I didn't love.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of leather, dark clothes, a lot of electric guitar, heavy metal everything,
Everyone looks like Skrillex.
and I don't like that.
Yeah.
It's not my art style.
The
It's not
cure
my idea.
for that nowadays is like
The Matrix is
Crazy
like the
color.
closest I'll get to it, but even then I'm still kind of like
what do you think about Blade Runner 2049?
well, it kind of sticks a little bit more to the 80s Blade Runner because they had an established universe
It's like
already. It's
the-
a little dirtier.
has
It's a
color.
little like, yeah, a little more well lived in.
But like the brown trench coats, the see-through trench coats, the jellyfish umbrellas, like
well,
yeah, go ahead.
well, what I was gonna say is like, and this applies to actually really the Batman animated series where
I'm trying to draw the line.
Yeah.
there's a higher contrast of things where it's like it's a dark building but like the sky's red, or
Yeah.
like in a Blade Runner, you know, it's dark and lived
they're
in
on
and all
Mars.
that stuff, but there's a giant pink projection of his girlfriend or
Right.
whatever.
Joy.
Like that, those kind of like striking visual things
Where this was
do
like
a lot.
all blue or all black or all
Right.
something or other. So for me, it just in the way I feel like Batman the Animated Series is a dark show also, but like you said, that contrast didn't leave me feeling. It just makes me like I need to take a shower. Like
I mean-
it's not just this
No,
show.
no, no.
It's not this show
Yeah.
only.
I
It's
would-
the entire '90s idea of the future.
I would
was
also
just-
say
It's
that
like
like
a weird cross section between being very sterile but also very grungy. Like
Ye-
we've passed the point of like
Yeah.
having everything orderly, and now it's like the breakdown of that infrastructure.
Yeah, like I loved the closest thing I liked '90s future was like Fifth Element is kind of that like I
Loud
like
and
that,
colorful.
but yeah, loud and colorful. Yeah,
I mean, I would say like what kind of also complements that idea that you have is like with the original Batman, like you have his tan chin, and you
Mhm.
have like a yellow suit and a yellow belt. But when they switch to new, it's like gray, but you still got
Yeah.
that tan chin.
yeah.
And this one, black as fuck, red symbol. That's
But
all
like
you're
I
gonna
also
get.
wasn't that big of a fan of the new and like I didn't like a lot of the models for the new Adventures of Batman or Batman.
yeah,
series.
and that's the style.
Yeah,
Same
so maybe that's where it's coming from, but I think that would really be my only qualm with it is that and that's not even it. It's just the '90s as a whole, I guess.
Yeah, there's not really
Is
just the decisions that were made.
yeah, and I like a lot. They stuck with some of the Art Deco stuff, and I really enjoyed that.
It does. Come up every now
It's
and
still
again.
Gotham.
The
Like,
90s were a dark
I
time.
loved anytime they were in Wayne Manor. It felt great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's me.
The mausoleum.
Well, even then wasn't the case because it's like everything
I
has
also-
like sheets over it.
which I like.
And this also could just be my own baggage into it, but I don't care for his rogues gallery that much.
What do you mean?
As much
Overall.
as Batman's. Like a lot of them to me with time faded. And when I watch the show, I go, oh, that's right. Light, ink, this, that. But all of Batman's were like, while they may not be as like powerful or tech, like they were more unique and
Yeah,
their
they
designs are
had-
well more thought out to me than the rogues gallery of
You
Terry
could probably
McGinnis.
pick out silhouettes a lot easier.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And their motivations were a little clearer to me as well. Not saying that their motivations weren't clear, but
It's not just your baggage.
More-
Though. I feel like
more
it's
memorable.
also the show's baggage trying to stay relevant
yeah.
to what had come before.
And I think they did a good job. I don't want to knock it
Yeah.
because like I love this show and I
But that
I
is-
like a lot of the arcs, but
their
it's
main
not as memorable.
That's something they had
their
to
main
deal with.
concern was like they don't want this to be a Bruce Wayne show.
right.
And so like as much as they love Freeze, that's why they were really trying not to have a Freeze episode or trying not to bring in Bane is because they wanted to have their own rogues gallery. That's
Yeah.
Terry's story. So I mean, and that's the funny thing is that like a lot of in season 2, there's not a lot of villains. There's
Yeah.
a lot of like just stupid characters that like are antagonists.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting story because like more of the danger is the life of being a teenager. And so
Yeah.
it's interesting.
But like
They wanted
even
to spend more time with
looking at a frame of
Terry.
all the villains for Beyond, they're not to me they don't stand out as very unique. A lot of them have a lot of similar designs if you look at how their bodies shapes are and the design, like a lot of block colors of black with white or black with red.
So it's black and something.
Yeah. And so to me that character design wise, I guess
versus
I would have liked
purple Joker, a green Killer Croc, a red or a blue Two-Face.
But like their
Ivy.
designs were super unique and focused, where these felt like they're like you said, we have to come up with a show and we want to make it different. Let's make different guys. All right, this guy has a spiral on his face and he's one color. This guy has a square on his face and he's one color. Like to me that was a downfall.
Yeah.
Josh?
I'm going to say something. And
that's what we do on the show. We say
I know,
stuff.
but
otherwise it would be very boring.
Yeah. Otherwise, one of the main reasons why I did not immediately jump on this show, design wise, when it first came out, is God, I feel so stupid.
No,
I just am not a big fan. I'm not completely sold on his suit, on the design, the full mask. I'm just not yet. Maybe I don't know.
There are some things that are a stretch,
and it could be baggage. It probably is baggage, that it's just the Batman that I know and love, and so I guess it is one of those things that I'm just still not completely sold on it.
Well, the question is, what is going on with his mouth? Like, what is that?
Well, I mean, I think that's honestly, we talked about like, where it's at in terms of the pantheon of like everything it is. Like, there's been a lot of scripts and a lot of pre-production to try to get a live action movie. And no one has been able to answer that.
Show me your live action rendering.
Well,
I mean, that suit would be.
I mean,
he's gonna glue latex to his lips.
Well,
what's gonna happen?
We talked about this in a joking way. It's like
gums.
a lot of DeviantArt like make a lot of shit for it, and they make some cool stuff. And the only thing like I could think of what they would possibly do is do a similar thing what they did with Thanos and talk about how the suit's like a nanotechnology, but like also thinking about.
I would see a Deadpool-esque the way that they did that mask.
But
they have to show his mouth though.
I would say, you still have to show his mouth because there's parts where like things go inside it and like he has to breathe.
Talking.
But the way also like you can go within a direction, which I would hate, but I would understand, is the Michael Bay Optimus Prime, where there's a shield, and then when he opens up, there's a weird fucking CGI mouth, and then it shields up again because there is no understanding of like how do you show your teeth. How do you put on a mask that goes into your mouth and wraps around your lips without you actually doing a cowl?
Contours to your expressions.
And that's the funny thing with all the live action Batmans is that they show the Batman taking off the mask and putting it back on. They don't show the fact that they have to put fucking black makeup on their eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's a reality.
Where do they do that in?
They do it in all of them.
No. There's a Kick-Ass.
Oh,
does that where he puts on the eye makeup.
I mean. Can I admit that it's badass? Yes, I can. I mean, there's like, Tom, you mentioned, like, there's some fucking baller art out there, like on DeviantArt and whatnot, that do make it look fucking baller. But from a standpoint, like, it's just, I'm still not sold
like, how can it work?
Like,
how does it work?
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, it's cool. I love the color black, and you got red on. Oh, this is baller. This is so cool. How does it work?
I would kind of say that same feeling, but with the excuse of, or with the question of, or the concern of, really, of this isn't like the most like menacing outfit, because I think Batman's whole thing is fear. Like I don't know if that would
very
fear.
Stealth.
Very stealth.
It's got the cloaking thing. It's
a
and
completely
also
different
more
vibe.
maneuverability too. There's no cape.
no cape.
The cape makes it scary. The cape allows you to like fucking make a silhouette that fucking.
I mean, I would believe nanotechnology. If they could do it and make it look a little metallic,
like what they do with Vision.
Yep,
like
that would work.
That's how I would.
That's it.
That's my take, and that's what I've written in my script. But you know, what I mean, like that's the I was like the only way I could. But then how you figure out action sequences too? That's a whole different thing. It's like I might fucking do the shield mouth thing because that could look more scary. Depends.
Yeah.
Depends on the design.
Yeah. I mean, at first when I started watching it, I was like, God damn it, another cheesy like the dialogue. But again, sometimes you have to put on the glasses of like, this is what this is, Josh. Sit back. But it grew on me. It's one of those things that I watched.
Enjoy it, you son of a bitch.
You son of a. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy it. It was just at first I was like, God damn it.
Has to wrap up in 22 minutes.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is it's like, but as
sometimes
I
part
kept,
two sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
but as I kept watching it, I was like, okay, I kind of like it. Like the next time try email. It's like, you would say that.
And that's the kind of funny thing. Like,
Crazy old bastard.
that's the funny thing because he's not like as quippy, I think, as a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But he is a smartass.
Yeah,
And that's
for
the thing is like,
sure.
he's
that's the thing is it's like, okay, he's a smart ass.
like, okay,
That's what a smart ass would say.
we know
100%.
you went to juvie. We get it.
100%.
We get it. You vape.
But they use that. They use that as a story point, though.
Oh, I
Like,
fucking love that.
that's.
Hell
I love
yeah.
it.
Beat the joke.
Don't just make him quippy for the sake of being quippy. Like,
Yeah.
Use it.
Street smarts.
Yeah.
Caitlin.
My qualms were with watching it a second time and realizing how much the animation quality changes between episodes. I was doing a little bit of research on that specifically, and they had 3 companies that they outsourced their animation to. 2 of them were in Korea, and 1 of them was in Japan. And it seems that Japan is the one that was the, I don't want to say better, but better one.
Different.
It appealed to you more.
Yeah, appealed to me more.
I was wondering that too. I was gonna look that up, but I never got to it. But I did notice that.
Yeah,
a
like
lot.
some of them are super choppy. Some of them, like, oh my god, hands and spatial difference sometimes. Ooh boy, did not do well. Like the one with Talia, the guy when he's at the thing in front of the Lazarus pit, suddenly his hand is like massive, and if you watch during the musical, Bruce's hand is just like the size of someone's head.
So he's got
Randomly.
he's got hammers of justice.
Yeah, he's got hammers of justice, and it switches every now and again. So like, but you can tell the episodes that are like a little bit better. And I think I was talking to my roommate about this. Shout out to Bill Rogers.
Shout out.
He was saying that TMS is the one that animated the first 2 episodes because they wanted the really good quality to be, to draw people in and watch it. And then they also did Return of the Joker. And then they, whenever they knew something key was going to come in.
Whenever there was a high budget episode.
Whenever they knew it was going to be a heavy hitter,
Yeah.
they would make sure TMS did it.
It's like their template of their episodes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They-
that's what I
they-
mean by high budget.
they made sure that they had the good come in and do it.
It reminds me of Korra. Did you watch Korra?
yeah.
Fuck yeah,
A
I watched
little bit.
Korra.
There was a second season that they switched animation houses. I don't know if you remember.
I just knew that they dropped the ball in their marketing. No one fucking
Oh
knew
yeah,
it
no one
came
knew it
out.
existed. But like, I would argue Korra looked, at least in the beginning, the first season looked better than Avatar did.
Oh, 100%. People
And
were going
then
fucking crazy.
I think I think it was the beginning of the second season they switched animation houses, and it was just garbage.
Interesting.
Like it would be like, okay, it's,
Story's still there, but
the bending like sport that they did. Like it would show the audience, and there's like not a single person drawn. It was
Just
the
a bunch
most
of
bizarre
outlines with like
That's
dots
strange.
It was all
for
just
eyes,
it was
maybe.
all, they were all just background.
copy paste,
set.
copy paste, copy paste.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
like, is it empty? Are they not in the stadium yet? Anyways,
and another example I was thinking of that really stood out to me for whatever reason, but in the last episode with Shriek, Bruce and Max were coming down the escalator, and Bruce is talking, and you can tell they only had 2 flaps for like, or two
Mouth opens.
Two mouth
2
states.
frames. They only had 2 mouth states, and he was just like open close, open close, open close, and it
So
was
they're like nut
If you go back and watch it, it's super apparent.
It's pronounced racial.
But yeah, so just noticing that kind of thing. And I know that, animation at that time was not like super fluid, crazy, oh my God, but the jump in quality kind of got me a little bit the second time around.
So with that, I'm gonna take. Did you? No, you didn't do your qualms yet. I was gonna
I did.
take it.
I started.
he did.
Yeah, he
Okay.
started Dr.
Oh, okay,
Gripes.
cool. With that, I want to take it because that's something that like you kind of find a qualm.
Your qualm is now his qualm, so you can't have
great.
that qualm.
I find a
Good,
quantification for my qualm.
Okay.
He's been qualmcepted.
Because yeah, it's like a qualm inside a gripe inside a qualm inside a show.
A quantification. Would you call it
Qualmception,
a quantification?
I guess.
All right.
Yeah, I guess. And it was during the fucking interviews I saw, and they talked a lot about like how
The
they
fucking
had,
interviews?
yeah.
Nice.
They talked about how they had
Sign
a
me
lot
up
of
for those.
Only on Kids WB.
Ollie, I sent you the fucking Evite and you never fucking replied.
You never fucking replied.
God. Anyways,
Jeez.
they talk about how they have a lot of production problems, and there was a lot of budgeting issues here and there. And when they first made it, they were like, I don't know what to do. And then it wasn't until like Glenn came involved and they were like, okay, he can kind of do a lot of the heavy lifting. And that's where it leads me to, I absolutely hate the way that the original series ends. And that's why I feel like they had to have Return of the Joker. They had to have epilogue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because those are the real endings.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you end the series.
No, that actually, now that I think about it, because I watched the series finale and I was like,
Are you fucking kidding me?
wait, what?
That's how you end it? It was very upsetting.
Did you just Sopranos me? What the fuck?
Not even Sopranos is worse. But this was like, again, like when it came out, and I don't remember watching it on TV.
Yeah.
Like, but I remember seeing it recently and being like, yeah, I forgot. It just fucking ended.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like this big shebang. It wasn't like a whole big thing. But you know, the title, Batman Unmasked. It's like, oh fuck, what happened? And it's a sweet ass story. It's a cute story with the little kid.
Yeah.
But you're like,
The title's a little dramatic for what happens. You're
But
like,
I mean, and the stakes are there. You get
Yeah.
like, oh fuck, he got unmasked. This kid knows a thing. Fucking this Cobra fucking Colt is gonna fucking do something. You're like, oh shit. And the GCPD are involved. Then it just ends. And you're like, but what?
It's not what it was about.
I want more, baby. I want what's gonna happen over here. What happened to Melanie? What happened to Data? What happened to that? Is Matt gonna become Robin?
Read the comics.
Robin,
Robin?
my
Robin?
favorite character.
Robin?
You know, Josh Groban? You know, like what's gonna happen? And like it just ended. Like the movie fucking is like a high ass point. Like it's the beginning, every season opening is fucking great. Like the season finale, season 1's great, and the movie's great, and then epilogue's great. But the way that season 3 ended, I was just like, it super
Okay.
it irks the fuck out of me.
Why you know?
Yeah.
Okay, no.
And this is like I think a personal thing, and I think it kind of aligns with some of the people that you know were in the divide of like, do they like Batman Beyond or not? It does ride a little bit on the heels of the original Batman the Animated Series. I think it's hard not to, especially with the continuity they were trying to create, because they
Yeah.
were like, no matter what's happening in the prior shows, this is the future.
Yeah.
Like everything's going to lead to this. And they're like, no matter what we do, we have to make sure that it doesn't affect anything in the past. So we can't say this.
We can't retcon ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that he made that attention to detail, but you know, this is again, it's a hindsight kind of thing. And I always say this about every TV show. Season 2 is when you find yourself. Season 2 is when you realize like, oh, this is what we should be doing. Because season 1, a lot of it is a Batman story.
Batman is back.
It's Batman and Batman Beyond.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I wish everyone could have seen the jazz hands that were happening during
Batman
that.
is back.
I mean, you get Ink, you get the wannabe Fantastic Four, you get Blight, you get the Jokers, you get the entire world build. But then a lot of the stories don't have anything to do with Terry.
Right.
They do with a lot of how Bruce sees it, and then Terry's like, I don't agree. You were right. And then season 2, it's like, I'm my own Batman. And
Yeah.
it's like, yes. Yes, daddy. Yes, please. Yes, daddy, all over me.
Oh no.
So you know what I mean? Like, so those are the kind of things I think about, and I hold it against it, but it allows me to, you know, make a conversation about it. And that's why it's tough, because like Ollie has said before, it's the one that comes after the great.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a very heavy, you know,
Yeah.
weight to
Well, you
lift.
can't have it without,
And it's like, there's no,
especially with making Bruce Wayne one of the main characters, you can't have Batman Beyond without the animated series.
and it's like,
Yeah.
if you have Batman the Animated Series, like, well, there was no fucking Thomas Wayne stories. So it's like, who gives a shit? You know, like that show started without an origin story. This show starts with an origin story. So
Yeah.
they're battling different fights, but then also there's no real weight that Batman has to live up to. Like,
Yeah.
I think at the time it only had to live up to Tim Burton's Batman, and Tim Burton doesn't read comic books, so it's pretty easy. And you got Batman Beyond. It's like, you got to be just as good as Batman the Animated Series. Like, oh, well, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You know, that was, again, a trailblazer. You have fucking, you know, great talent people there, but like Batman Beyond.
Lightning in a bottle.
And Kalen mentioned this in a group thread, and it's like, what do you like better? And I was like, Batman, the animated series, and all the things that came before it, walked, trailblazed, so this can fly as far as it could fly. But that can never have happened without these other shows.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my qualms.
Yeah.
So now we get to move to Tom's favorite part, the rating. So Tom and I go first.
Rating!
Because we had no. Tom,
Voting.
you know what? I'm going to make you go first.
Okay. It is,
Since you can't be last.
with the reasons of it stands on the heels of the original series. The series ends in the way it ends, but the showrunners wanted to have the real ending in another show.
You include that. I mean, include the
yeah.
epilogue and stuff.
Yeah, I'm including all that shit in there. But these are the reasons why
Yeah.
this is going to be a 4.7.
Okay.
Okay.
Like, if it didn't do that stuff, I'm like, it'd be good. And I feel like, again, if it had, if this is any other show, like fucking Spider-Man Unlimited, which is fucking stupid. Sorry.
Stupid good or stupid bad?
Stupid good, but I wouldn't recommend if you like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Notched recommendation from Tom.
Spider-Man limited likeness.
It's
I don't
like,
know.
it runs off the animated series, but like,
got it.
why?
It's
You got that?
amazing, but don't
Yeah.
watch it.
But why? I would rate that shit way lower because
Yeah.
it's not Batman and Batman Beyond. You know, he gets some fucking like, I
gets
would
Batman
let
points.
you do stuff to my body. You know, points.
Wow.
So
I would say it would increase the score by a few decimal
Yeah.
points, but you can say that.
by full numbers,
You can put it. You can use those words.
You can use those
Well,
words.
whatever direction you want, Tom.
Yeah. So 4.7.
Mine is a 4.3.
Wow.
Comparing it to other DC shows of that that I consider in that caliber.
I feel like you're comparing to either Batman or Young Justice.
Yeah,
And I was like, those are like high to me. Those are higher in quality.
that's 100% what I'm comparing them to. But it misses the mark on some things. For me, I'm not as big of a fan of Terry as I am with Bruce or even other DC characters.
It's Bruce Wayne's world. Terry
So-
just lives in it.
Yeah, essentially, which is unfortunate because I think he is a good character and he does a lot of things that Bruce can't. But the way that Bruce Wayne is built up in any other show beyond this one is, for me, is more relatable, I guess, and more of those like, oh shit kind of moments. I didn't have a whole lot of those with Terry, where I wasn't like, oh fuck, he's doing this thing and da 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 da.
The big
I was like, oh, he figured it out. Cool.
The big tell for me that you have that kind of sentiment is that Out of the Passage, your favorite episode,
Yeah,
because it's a Bruce Wayne.
it's a Bruce Wayne episode.
Yeah.
So 4.3 for me.
Josh with the 1 vote.
Josh with the 1 vote. Well, I wrote down 4.5, so I'm going to stick to it.
4.5.
It was a 4.5.
4.5.
I mean,
There
I
you
think
go.
it did good for what it was. It wasn't shit.
Yeah.
It wasn't
I try not to show you
once
shit.
once you watch, sometimes when you watch something and you don't like it at the beginning and then you keep watching it, you start to realize what it is. Imagine that. But I really did enjoy it. The mask thing is not enough to like, fuck this show. It was like, no.
He also can turn invisible. So like,
Yeah.
you know, what are you gonna?
But
It's
also-
basically- it is a
That means
stealth
you
suit.
can't have the cutout if you're
It
gonna
does
turn
make
invisible.
sense.
You just have a
Right.
jaw walking around. Just this mouth
You mean
walking
fucking
around.
Kevin Bacon from Hollow Man.
Yeah.
But also he does have the fucking little microphone thing with his 2 fingers.
Oh yeah, that's pretty
baller.
dope.
It's fucking dope as shit.
Yeah. Anyway.
And then when he gets battle damage, he's all troned out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I liked the image when he electrocutes the suit and it like rides all the circuits through the suit. Anyway,
So Caitlin and Ollie, make it who's going
Those
to
between you two.
Oh, well.
All right,
You guys are 2 different rules.
Ollie.
I was going to Rochambeau.
I thought, no, you put both fifths up. I thought you were going to fight her.
No, I was getting ready to do this.
Okay.
Yeah, it
would
looked like
win.
he was gonna fight me, and I just touched my nose
I would
instead.
have lost. That would have been me wanting her to go first. Or whatever.
So Ollie.
So my rating is a very hopeful 4.4.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And that was it only climbed a couple points because
What?
I'm fat. The couple
climbed?
What?
I wasn't the grub?
not here.
Oh, okay.
But like
I feel a little less.
the reason it's 4.4 is because I'm fascinated. You all know this by now. I'm fascinated with like the timeline of Batman, of like exploring every like more
milestone in his life.
right, more in the future,
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
far future.
You're done with the origin story.
I'm done with the origin story. Give me him.
Give
like
you Hush.
40s
Give
and-
you Red
and
Hood.
above. Right. So this was just like another step, and there was a bold thing because they're creating more of the canon of what's Batman after Bruce Wayne, which is kind of like a trailblazing type thing in its own right. So that's why the score is a little bit higher than it would be. But like if I had to be super objective about just it in a nutshell, it would probably be like I wouldn't put it below 4.0, but it would be like 4.1 or something. But it got a few extra brownie points because
that
of
timeline shit.
Because of the timeline shit. Yeah.
I actually, for when I was writing my script of it, I made a fucking breakdown of all his milestones. I'm like, okay, this fucking Dick Grayson has to come here. Jason Todd has to be here.
Yeah.
Tim Drake has to be here. Damian Wayne has to be here in order for him to be this old when Terry comes.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry has to be born at this time if he's going to be the same age as this person.
Wow.
And it's a little hard to map out because you're like, oh fuck, like just wanting to make sure that the timeline can work.
Right.
So, Caitlin,
my score is a 4.4.
Ah, it's me.
damn,
Fucking
Corey.
I like how you went, you're the fucking grump.
Yeah, it's me, baby.
Congratulations. Now we
Okay,
can't ride home together.
With a 4.3.
Well, like, okay, so I like how they did nods to the original source material. There's no way this could have been made without the original source material, and I think they did an excellent job with what it is. I really dig the like Gothic Art Deco art style that they did, because normally I don't like the like 80s, 90s, that kind of feel. I don't like that. But the way that they pulled it off, because they were also doing like what 30s, 20s kind of vibe as well.
In the original series?
No, in this.
Oh,
like
sometimes,
they
yeah.
had some in like industrial era, like
Because
ness
it's based
to it.
off the first series is like a very
If noir
Art Deco
and Art
20s,
Deco
yeah.
had
Right,
The
right.
bulbousy cars and the fucking blimps and shit.
So normally it wouldn't be something that I'm like into, but the art, like I feel very original with how they did things because it did set itself apart.
No lapels.
Yeah, no lapels.
Everyone wears Henleys.
But so, and I totally understand like budget constraints with having to outsource to various companies and like, but there was so much love put into it of that they did pick and choose so that they could give the quality to the fans when they knew it was going to count.
right.
So, I got to give them a little more love for that. And my score did creep up a little bit. So sorry, Corey.
Mm-hmm.
When you heard Corey's score.
Yeah, 100%.
Actually, it was higher in the beginning, but the more I was trying to like honestly be critical about it, like I'm honestly trying to be critical about things because I like
Do
it.
you?
I
Do
just
you?
like
Don't
the
try to be
things.
critical. Just do you.
No, but when I seriously take a look at things, I'm like, no, if I am going to honestly rate something, it does get down to a 4.4, and that's still like the animation bugged me a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. But the show in itself was so good that I can excuse that.
Fair enough. So it's me.
That's
I'm
it.
the grump.
Corey's the grump!
God damn it.
Everybody thought it wasn't
I'm not going to see you for
be
another 3
him.
more weeks, Corey.
I really we need to get a trophy made.
Yeah.
Like something that passes around.
I'm
each
going
week.
to Source Connect for the next 3 episodes. Joe.
Yeah.
Wow.
He can't even look at him. Like he's
Corey,
was
you were the
prepared to
chosen
be-
one.
No,
You were
Corey,
supposed to bring balance to the force, not leave it in
And
darkness.
I love this show.
Corey is going to text Tom for something, and then Tom's going to text me and go, "Could you text Corey and
Yeah,
tell
right.
him?"
No, what I'm going to text him is, we have iPhones, so I'm going to text him a heartbeat, and every heartbeat's going to be broken. Dead each
I
one.
like how you're talking about body checking Ali, and I'm over here like 4.3.
Bitch.
You're a safe distance right now.
Okay, I will say this right now.
But it's only because I compare it to 2 other shows that I'm like, I don't understand how they're that good.
Oh yeah, they're fucking. They're better written. They're better production and all that shit.
Yeah.
But I will say the Gush. I love the fucking techno music. I love the fucking look for everything. Like the fucking cyberpunk
How many
feel.
fuckings
opening.
can you put in that
Oh
sentence?
my god. it's-
More.
Oh, Batman fucking Beyond.
There's one line, I can't remember where it was from, what episode, whatever the fuck, but it's this line where Bruce Terry's, I think, talking about the Daily Bugle, And Superman, Bruce just goes, I was reading the Bugle before you were a person. And I had to rewind because I was like, did he just say that? Not before you were born, but before you were a person. So I just love that line.
Because he's like his dog.
Yeah.
There's like
very
sex
nice.
jokes all over it too.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of more adult theme stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, I mean, I think it's Nash Nelson, who's voiced by Seth Green.
What?
Who tells to Chelsea, the blonde hot girl of the school, is like, yeah, you see my new car? He's like, you want to ride? She's like, you always talk about your car. I was like, I'm not talking about the car. I was like, damn! Damn, girl!
It's in the pilot, they're
and they
wrestling.
wonder why adults like their shows and kids don't as much.
Right. Well, they were wrestling, and the two girls were talking about who's going to win. And
You never
he's like,
wrestled
you
with
haven't
that.
wrestled with them before. And it took me a second. I'm like, wait a minute. That's not supposed to be in this.
I mean,
Wait a
Flashback
minute.
and he's actually wrestling her. Like, got her in a headlock and she's like,
Say uncle.
Jiu-jitsu is uncle.
Like a Family Guy style, like, cut.
yeah.
With the fucking opening too, that's where I learned for the first time what the word apathy was. Like, I was like, what the fuck is apathy? It was like crime, corruption.
Oh, yeah.
Apathy. I was like, what the fuck? What is that? Oh,
Geology.
this is terrible.
Paleontology.
Why are
What
they
if it
bringing
just-
these themes involved?
I also learned that
Depression.
the
Please change the intro, Corey. Please.
sadness.
Erectile. Anyway.
These are all things that plague the future.
These are the Bruce Wayne. These are the stories of the detectives.
Fuck, I forgot my point.
Apathy.
Apathy. No, okay, so the beginning thing, there's some like action figures
Yeah.
and
And they like turn to the camera.
either
and there's
Bruce,
like, "Wah."
either Bruce Tim or Paul Dini did those himself.
Yeah.
Like they were like filmed
Bruce
by
Tim, I think he said.
Anyway, yeah, it's erectile dysfunction. Well, I feel complete on that note.
I'm complete.
You complete?
Arthritis.
Plantar fasciitis.
Jesus. It's my favorite show,
nihilism.
Corey.
I know. 4.3.
Okay, fine.
Weak knees.
We're doing your double
didn't wanna be the Grom.
ARP.
ARP.
Yeah.
Diabetes.
Wow.
I didn't want this to
Anyways.
happen, Tom.
It's too late.
It's over.
Well, if everyone would like to listen to the show again, where can they listen, Josh?
They can listen on Apple Podcasts
Or,
on our website, nerdon.tv.
I was going to say, or
You
anywhere.
can fish
podcasts
out
are.
our BTOS episode and our Kevin Conroy episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
And the Batman. With Mindhunter.
Reno
That's
Romano.
true. Listen to Reno Romano.
There's been some Batman in this show.
There has.
There's been quite a bit. There's
There will
probably
be more.
going to be more.
There will be more.
There'll be
Oh,
Batman
yes.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Ugh, Batman
everybody-
tonight.
Batman tonight. Batman day after tomorrow.
Before the second year is set,
Yeah.
the night will grow dark.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, my
Wow.
God.
Where can they hear about us?
Hear about us?
Hear about us.
Maybe
Maybe there's some kind of news letter that they should know about.
Well,
Like a
we have-
newsletter.
it
Wink,
is the
wink,
new
nudge,
year.
nudge, say no more. Say no more.
Say no more.
I'm trying to end the episode.
This is we're going into the new year and we have something new. New newsletter.
Wow. He said the
We-
thing.
This said the thing. We are starting a monthly newsletter that's going to be a Nerd On roundup, so to
Yeah.
speak. All of our goods.
We know you have busy lives,
Yeah.
and we're whipping something together for y'all that you can get a taste of what we have explored the previous month, and maybe some hints as to what the next month might hold.
Why didn't
Yeah.
we call it the monthly Nerds letter?
Nerds
No.
Instead of the newsletter.
It's not out yet.
No.
We don't know.
Name to be revealed.
That's like when I said ask us anything versus AMA.
Yeah.
Just make it simple.
So if you would like to receive this newsletter, it's one a month, so it's not all spammy or whatever.
Yeah.
Where can they find that, Josh? Where can they sign up?
It would be nerdon.io/newsletter.
Wow.
That link works.
That link works.
Thank you for checking that on your phone
You're
before
welcome.
the show.
Another thing that you can check out in the Nerd On Galaxy world, whatever you want to call it, we do have another podcast. I'm gonna
Podcast.
keep on doing it. Podcast. Trope Time.
Yep.
They are a monthly show. I like them. They're good.
Yeah, listen
They're
to
good
them.
Yes, they
stuff.
are.
We're pretty all right.
They are pretty
With
darn
our two
all right.
lovely hosts that talk about all
Nikki and Izzy.
pop culture, art, media, and the tropes that they are victim to, such as where people are placed in
The Clark
society.
Kent effect.
Exactly.
Fan service.
yeah,
all
all
sorts of
sorts of-
things.
But yeah, they are once a month. They give them a listen. And if you are a Trope Time listener and you're coming over here, thank you. In the end, thank you everybody at home for listening. I mean, that is the support that we really love. Your ear holes.
We like when you listen to our words.
Thank you
We
for
appreciate it.
for rating, for hitting us up on Facebook and rating on podcasts and rating on Facebook as well. It helps us out.
Sending
on that
us
note,
memes also.
Yeah, we love memes. Speaking of which, you can find us on all of the social medias. It's pretty much Nerd on TV everywhere, except for Twitch.
Someone has to have it.
Do
already.
at us.
do at us. Slip and slide into those DMs.
You should have them at us.
At me, bro.
Yeah.
At them to at us.
Please at
Yeah.
me, bro.
Please at me, bro.
Tell us who you thought the Grump was. Tell us what you think of Batman Beyond. Because
Were you the Grump?
How big are your hands?
And how do you think Batman Beyond's lips would work
Too late.
in the live action adaptation?
Please.
Gently.
Send us ideas.
Avatar.
Well, on that note, Corey, as always,
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.